sign up. The sign up sheet over in this corner. No, we're gonna make one. Let me hear it. Second.
You may have to, for the voting and stuff, you have to unmute now, Valerie. It's on the top row. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good evening. Today is Wednesday, September 27th, 2023, and this is the special planning board meeting for Collins hearing. Okay, so first I'm gonna call in order. I want to get a motion.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Hello,
Okay.
can I get a motion to open the public hearing for Collins?
So moved.
A second?
Okay, and I just want to read the order of business. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, during the public hearing, I just want to let everybody know the order of business will be that Carlos will present. After that, the planning board members will ask their questions, make their comments.
Volume?
Can you hear now? Do you hear me?
It's at max. You just have to keep it close to your mouth.
Okay. The order of business today would be Carlos will present. After his presentation, the planning board members will ask their questions and make their comments. After that, we go to the public. And we want to give everyone here that wants to speak a chance to speak. So if you have not signed up, please do so. And today we're gonna have T. Randall Martin officiating over the public hearing. So he will state the rules and call the people as they come up. So let's have a good meeting, sit back and relax and good evening.
Okay, hello, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna just read you the rules and we'll have this meeting in a organized fashion. Okay, when the chair or the presiding officer, which is me, addresses you, you'll be asked to state your name and your address. You're not compelled to, but we would like you to. Otherwise, as determined by the board, the time will be allotted at 3 minutes per speaker. Once all speakers wishing to speak have spoken, any person wishing to speak a second time may do so for the maximum of 2 minutes. Comments must pertain to the subject of this public meeting. If you cede your meeting, if you cede your time to someone else, then we will cross you off the list. No member of the public is permitted to address the planning board meeting or public hearing unless recognized by the chair or presiding officer. All persons speaking will be given respect and courtesy, and in return are expected to be respectful and courteous. Use of profane, slanderous, or personal remarks or boisterous attack, including booing, hand clapping, is unacceptable. And any person speaking to the board with the consent of the chair of the or presiding officer shall address their remarks to the planning board and not to other members of the audience. Does everybody understand that? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so first we're gonna start the meeting and we're gonna have the applicant go first and give another presentation to the audience.
Thank you, sir, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Good evening, Chairwoman Joyner and members of the board. My name is John Privatera. I am with the Albany law firm of Whiteman, Osterman and Hanna, and we are counsel to Colarusso on this application, which relates only to the Hall Road Improvement and Truck Traffic Diversion Project, not the dock. Thank you for hosting this meeting for the public concerning this very long pending application. I would like to also to thank those members of the planning board who were able to join Colarusso representatives recently for a tour of the Hall Road Improvement Project and the existing and future truck routes that will be used if this board grants approval. And just to refresh for the public and the board, we had prepared some mapping that you did see, and the public can look at this as well. This is the current route to the dock, which uses the Hall Road only for a tiny piece at the end in the city. A tiny piece at the end of the dock. So that's to the dock. They start at the stub of the Hall Road and go all the way through the city to the dock, only using the very stub at the beginning that's coming out of the mine.
What would you also, could you repeat that and show that information for your audience?
Sure. The current route to the dock goes exclusively through the city when it comes out of the driveway. When it comes out of the driveway in the town of Greenport. That's the route to the dock for all of the dump trucks. The route back to the mine has to go through the city because
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I have to cut it from my apologies.
yes. The current route from the dock goes back through the city and around and comes in the western entrance to the mine. That's this current route from dock. What we're proposing and have proposed for many years is the proposed truck route that diverts all of the traffic around the city to and from the dock. You can see the red line is the Hall Road that we propose. It comes out of the western edge of the mine. It doesn't go through any of the city streets until it reaches the entrance to the dock down on Front Street. So all of it is completely diverted from the main part of the city.
Can we see it? What's the red and what's the yellow?
Yellow is the highway, the red is the yellow is the highway, the red is the Hall Road that we're proposing. And then we have stated that we need some emergency exceptions when there's blasting or flooding. Very short-term phenomenon, but we have asked that when you consider conditions to the permit, that when federal mine safety does not let us use portions of the mine with trucks, or when the Hall Road is flooded in portions, that we propose using this route while blasting to and from the dock. This does not show where we would go if it was flooded. Depends on what pieces are flooded, but we would have to go through the city if the Hall Road, the main Hall Road portion close to the city is inundated. So that's the emergency route while blasting.
I'm sorry, I can't see it and I don't understand what the route is. When you said you go across 90 in this scenario,
From 370 Street Park,
come
back on 9 and you jump back. On 9 feet or 1 feet.
But isn't that where all of the flooding always happens? The first flooding always seems to happen right where you're flooding. Seems a funny time.
Well, yeah, there's no, are you okay with just passing that around some people?
Oh, sure, sure.
Okay.
This isn't the flood route, only a portion of it might be the flood route. This is the route we have to take when there's blasting going on. The flood, if any portion of the Hall Road is flooded, we would have to work around that depending on which portion of it is flooded.
Can you pass around your proposed route and then that exception group.
That's the exception.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Plan to those online, these exhibits will be also available on the website. I'm sorry, I didn't-
Yes, sir, thank you. So again, this is an application for conditional use approval of the Hall Road Improvement and Truck Traffic Diversion Project that will take Colarusa dump trucks off the city streets. The project is a permitted use under the city code, as we have detailed in our July 25 and September 13 letters to the board. As you can see from these depictions of the project, the current impact of the truck traffic upon the city streets is clear. This project is good for the community and delivers environmental justice to residents of the city when it is completed, as the Columbia County Planning Board has held twice. We look forward to additional public comment tonight as we work toward approval of this important project, and thank you once again for hosting tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, with that being said, who is the first person on the list for questions?
I thought you were gonna ask questions.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Do we have any questions on my board?
I do.
Yes.
John, is it possible? John, is it possible that you could send this diagram to us?
Oh, yes, we
So
did.
that we can post it?
We did, but we'll send a new version.
Okay, because you have it in 217, now we need, you did something, but we can't.
We'll make sure you have it.
Okay, thank you. That's right.
Do any other board members have any questions?
Just a quick question, because I don't want to take time away from the public, but I think last time we asked about why the blasting couldn't be scheduled to avoid using city streets at specific times. Did you have an answer for that for the blasting times?
The blast, I don't have an answer for that for the blasting times. The blasting times are driven by the mine operations. The mine operations can't be regulated by the town. They're regulated by the state under the DEC permit. When we need to blast, we blast, and according to our permit, we just give notice. When we do that blasting, we can't use the road on that side for worker safety reasons under federal mine land safety laws. So, you know, on the record, can I say how often? I can't be held to it, but it's once or twice a week, and it's not regular. And it lasts for about an hour. And what we would propose is that that we would give notice to the code enforcement officer when that exigency arises. But we can't just stop all operations for that hour if we're busy loading a barge.
Thank you.
But just to be clear, when you say you can't, what you're saying is that you don't want to. You could.
Could we do that and leave a bunch of drivers idle for an hour and then reactivate that? I don't know what the cost to the business would be to have.
Okay, I just want to be clear that it's not for health and safety reasons, it's a business decision. You're saying you prefer not to, you don't want to idle your trucks for that period of time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So one of the reasons why I didn't go into questions immediately, because we did have a chance to go as a board. Many of us went on the site and walked to see the proposed road and the current roads. We were able to see some of the dangers of the truck route as it went through the city, and we were able to see the new route. So that gave us a very good idea of the dynamics of what they're proposing. So we are informed fully about the project. Does anyone else want to comment about the site meeting?
Randall, I just have a question, not about necessarily this site. Can everybody hear me without me using the microphone?
Yes.
I can use the mic, it doesn't matter. You heard me?
Yeah.
I definitely thought you could. I had my teaching voice on. Okay, my question was, when you talked about the flooding issue and maybe needing to come throughout the city, you said that it would depend on where the area of the flooding occurred. Can you give some scenarios about where that might occur? You know what I'm saying? Like, I might have to take this route if it happens in this area. I might have to take this route. Can you do some type of a diagram or just give us some examples or hypothetical scenarios of if it happens in one location, this might be the route that we might take?
That's a fair question. The most likely place for it to flood is in the South Bay area. If you took the tour, perhaps you saw that there are a couple of culverts that go underneath the rail bed, the causeway there, and the tide goes back and forth through those culverts. That area is probably the most susceptible area to flooding because of the way it moves. It's not common, but that would block us off from the main chunk of the haul road, if that portion flooded. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then where would you go? You still would need to take the 9G and go around that,
Right.
go around the.
Right.
Okay.
So, but are you saying if you couldn't get through the whole pathway, you would then take the street route?
No, I think we'd minimize the street route and only use, and use as much of the haul road as we could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, please. Let's save your questions to your allotted 3 minutes. Okay, so there is another mic for folks in the audience.
Yeah. It'll come in at the beginning.
Donna's right. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Donna Stripes. I reside on Union Street in Hudson, and I'm a member of North Hudson Waterfront. Colarusso doesn't want the planning board to look at actual truck numbers. They want you to limit your review to numbers considered by the Greenport Planning Board in 2017, 4,000 trips per year, which was less than half of actual and assumed no future growth. Actual and proposed numbers should not be ignored. At the August meeting, Privatera stated the numbers I communicated were outlandish. Well, the truck volume is outlandish, but the numbers were accurate and were derived from their own consultants, Creighton Manny's engineering reports. Bottom line, annual trucks from 2015 to 2019 have almost tripled to over 15,000 a year. And we believe that Colarusso wants to at least double this to 30,000 plus. And worst case scenario is 71,000 plus. What does 30 to 71,000 truck trips look like? It means on average, 1 to 2 truck trips every 5 minutes, making dangerous crossings Mondays through Fridays, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on routes 9 and 9G across Amtrak rail line by Basilica and interacting with vehicles and pedestrians at the waterfront. It's critical to note that while Colarusso is proposing to limit trips per day to 284, it's not willing to limit trips per year. Also, Colarusso's proposed mitigation to reduce operating days from 365 to 250 is an illusion and will not reduce the number of trips per year. As Creighton Manny reported, typically they operated at less than half the available days per year. For example, in 2019, they only ran trucks 133 days. Thus, the number of days running trucks will actually increase. The haul road application isn't about improving the causeway and restoring wetland vegetation or making Hudson Street safer. For Colarusso, it's about increasing their corporate profits. That's not in Hudson's best interest, which is the concern of the planning board. The harm Colarusso and Sons has inflicted on Columbia and Green Street residents and to the city's infrastructure over the past several years is terrible. But the planning board shouldn't be bullied by Colarusso to make an unwise decision to approve, which strategically is what Colarusso has been trying to force for years, creating its own environmental justice issue for its own corporate benefit. Approving the applications would simply move the gravel truck problems from one area of the city to another and create much bigger problems for the city, its waterfront, its businesses, and residents and visitors alike.
That's,
Please deny the Colarusso applications. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Mary Louise. Right. Your timer.
yeah, my touch.
You want it, so.
You want to wrap it?
So that's different time. That's different. And, yeah.
All right, Chair Teresa Joyner and the members of the City of Hudson Planning Board. I speak on behalf of the Hudson Business Coalition, a nonprofit membership organization committed to advancing the interests of Hudson's diverse and vibrant business community, in joining you to reject the current application and conditional use permit sought by A. Colarusso and Son. Hudson's waterfront is one of our community's crown jewels and serves as a place to congregate, recreate, and enjoy nature. We believe that Colarusso's proposal is fundamentally at odds with what is in the best interests of Hudson's greater community for our residents, business owners, and tens of thousands of visitors each year. City of Hudson's own planning board has already determined that proposal currently under consideration is misaligned with the city's own established vision plan, comprehensive plan, and local waterfront revitalization plan. Additionally, we're uncertain how a company that lost its use permit to operate at the waterfront in 2017 is able to continue to do so. It's difficult to imagine that this kind of exception would be granted for any other business. We recognize and appreciate the need for a measured approach when it comes to economic development, environmental conservation, social justice, and a respect for the traditions and history of the community. But with that said, no one business, regardless of its contributions to the community or its longstanding history, should be permitted to act with impunity or without concern for the negative externalities that its operations may result in. If Colarusso receives approval for its conditional use permits, it will have adverse effects on the waterfront and indeed the city of Hudson at large, and we will have little or no recourse. There are many new businesses and organizations that currently operate hospitality, retail, and entertainment, looking to expand their footprint at the Hudson waterfront. It's a place where visitors and residents attend countless private and public community events every year. For the safety and well-being of visitors and locals and the quality of life for our residents, it may be tempting to approve the proposal that would seemingly, quote, get the trucks off the city streets, as many advocates for. Can I just have a few more? This is from a big organization.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. However, Colarusso and its legal representation have made explicitly clear that they reserve the right to drive gravel trucks through the city streets, even with the approval and development of the so-called Hall Road. We also support getting the trucks off the city streets, and serious consideration for moving the truck route must be granted to improve public safety, ensure long-term health of its residents, and protect the structural integrity of our buildings and infrastructure. But these issues shouldn't be conflated, nor should Colarusso use this as a cudgel to extract their own demands. Furthermore, their proposed plan exclusively represents an expansion of operations, which will come at the expense of our natural environment, collective health and safety, and has the potential to inhibit development and expansion of other businesses. It will not, as we understand, have a significant adverse effect on their current operations or their ability to generate a profit. Given these facts, we urge the City of Hudson Planning Board to deny this application for its site plan, respectfully submitted to HBCI Board of Directors.
Hello, my name is Virginia Martin. I live at 724 Warren Street. To every one of the planning board members, thank you so much. I know you're all in hot seats and you're often in hot seats, here you are. And I really do sincerely thank you for your service and your consideration. What I'd like to talk about tonight is municipal planning here and elsewhere. And the elsewhere that I'd like to talk about is the city of Troy. Just a few years ago, in 2019, the Troy Zoning Board soundly rejected an application for a variance that would allow a company to ship gravel from a site on the Hudson River that wasn't zoned for gravel shipping. Why did they reject it? Because it flew in the face of what the city had already decided, that the site was inappropriate for that use, and that was reflected in the way it was zoned. And because the city had already decided that they would develop it for recreation. And because neighbors said they were worried about the trucks hauling gravel, creating problems like air pollution. And because neighbors said it would alter their neighborhood's character. The site is adjacent to a fishing pier. Does this sound familiar? The site had a centuries plus history of industrial operations. Does this sound familiar? But zoning board members unanimously rejected the application. I'm impressed that they considered both the city's plans and promises and the neighbors' concerns. I'm impressed that they could see that a property's use doesn't have to be foreordained by its history, especially not when a far superior use that would benefit the community is within reach. Our city, just like Troy, has made plans, and it's issued directives about our own waterfront. So has the state. Look at the Hudson Vision Plan, the Hudson Comprehensive Plan, the Waterfront Plan. Look at the state's directive that our significant habitat at the South Bay Creek and Marsh be conserved. Look at the Secretary of State's ruling from 2005, which said Hudson must sunset industrial uses. Please respect the plans already made and the directives already given and the neighbors' concerns. Please take the trucks off Columbia Street. And please reject Colarusso and Sons application and conditional use permit. Thank you.
Julie Matz.
To Chair Teresa Joyner and the members of the planning board, thank you very much for your public service to the city. I'm a resident at 228 Allen. I've lived in Hudson since 2014. One of our reasons for moving here was proximity to the river, the mountain views, the magical sunsets, and the promise of a waterfront that offers a gathering place for all. For apartment dwellers in this city, our waterfront park is the only expanse of accessible green space. This is a precious resource to cherish and preserve. Up and down the Hudson River, once industrial towns have realized the benefits of a waterfront that serves the public by providing a space for recreation and a desirable location for non-polluting businesses that create jobs. Preserving waterfront is good economics and represents the best example of community building and social and environmental justice. It is tragic that the city did not take the opportunity to protect our waterfront after the long battle with St. Lawrence Cement. You now have an opportunity to do this by rejecting Colarusso's proposal. Colarusso has spent 7 years trying to get permits so that they can greatly expand their dock operation. The company currently has a road from the quarry that they can use and could remove all their trucks from Columbia Street tomorrow morning. But so far, the company and its representatives have chosen to mislead the people of this city. The company claims that its proposal will further the cause of social and environmental justice by removing gravel trucks from Columbia. However, Columbia Street is still a state truck route, and the company states in its documents that it will continue to use Columbia Street. If the planning board grants permits to Colarusso, Hudson will still have noisy gravel trucks on Columbia and a hugely ramped up industrial operation at our waterfront. The company's proposal will harm the citizens of Hudson in countless other ways. An expanded gravel operation will create pollution, and because the new roadways the company proposes will intersect with major routes in and out of Hudson, as well as our Amtrak line, the proposal will endanger the safety of all our residents. Colarusso has shown itself to be a bully without respect for our planning board or the people of this city. When a polluting extraction company that has sued the city not once but twice claims they are acting in the interest of social and environmental justice, we should not believe them. For the company, this is all about money. If Colarusso, thank you very much for your time.
Really?
David Koenigsberg.
We're funding everybody. Maybe somebody got COVID.
Hi, everybody. David Koenigsberg. I'm a 10-year resident in the First Ward. People who know me know that I'm against this proposal, but I'm not going to hammer at that. I just want to say that the board has to seriously weigh it against the city code and the LWRP and follow through later just as critically in evaluating the dock application when that happens. But what I want to express is my amazement that the board has been urged to make a major ruling without the benefit of understanding the impacts of these two applications together. At our Hudson Waterfront, our big ask of the planning board has always been the same: to honestly assess the costs, the impacts and merits, if there are any, of this proposal, without fear or favor, with the applicant's full cooperation, and certainly without lawsuits challenging the board's legal right of review. A while back, we wrote a piece on our website called Questions Hudson Must Ask. And its questions were pretty basic. Will the proposal harm our environment, protected wetlands in the river? How about the Riverfront Park, one of our only true public spaces, and our ability to adapt to climate change, whose impacts are going to come sooner than later? Also, what about if gravel loading takes off, if it soars, which I think is a given? Colarusso has repeatedly said that the city can't regulate its volume, and this means that the gravel market and not all of us together will dictate the future of our waterfront. What about economic impacts? Will the proposal bring jobs to the city? Will it harm nearby businesses? Will it make it harder to attract others to the area? If gravel shipping dominates our waterfront, I think we know the answer. But the crazy thing is that no one has taken or been allowed to take a stab at answering these questions. What about the degradation of community character? What worries nearby owners with the proposal? How will it impact DRI investments in Casby development and Kitty's expansion and Basilica's programming? Nobody knows the answers. These things should have been studied and they haven't been. Finally, safety. I think people have talked about that. The trucks crossing the highways, the rail lines, entrances to the park. Colarusso says that the state DOT's assessment should have been enough, but we know now, because of research we've done, that this approval relied on seriously lowballed truck estimates. In fact, we've experienced a big increase in truck traffic, and it's only going to get worse. So my time's almost up, but there's two other things I want to cover. One is the claim that the Greenport seeker review was sufficient to write a permit. Again, our research shows how cursory and dismissive this process was, how their planning board ignored and minimized the raft of concerns raised by the city's own engineers, and never even tried to really study the impacts on the city. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Victor Blue. Hello, everyone. My name is Victor Bloom. I live at 18 Union Street. I've lived in Hudson for 13 years.
Closer to your mouth.
I'm a 13-year resident of Hudson. I live on Lower Union Street. Many of the previous speakers have covered points which I had intended to also cover, so I'll more or less cut to the chase of what I had to say, which was that, it's important to note that the Amtrak station is now, you're probably aware, the third busiest in New York State. A remarkable fact, considering how small it is and how small Hudson is. And the volume of passenger traffic that flows through there represents nothing but economic benefit to Hudson and its renewal. I was going to focus on the danger of the intersection just south of the station, in which the increasing train traffic intersects with increasing truck traffic, which is, it's an accident waiting to happen. There are many reasons why this could happen. I won't go into them now, but I don't have enough time. But to cut to the chase, I'll read the last paragraph of my statement. The Common Council has just approved Colorusso's bid to rebuild the long-defunct Ferry Street Bridge crossing the tracks north of the station. Again, exhibiting its Stockholm Syndrome-like tendency to fecklessly become a hostage to its persecutor. But if Colorusso is truly interested in bridge building in both senses of the term, I propose that the planning board should demand, in order for the company to continue to operate its business in Hudson, that it be required to build a new bridge over the tracks at its own expense, further south along the rail line, far away from the train station and the waterfront park, which would naturally need to fulfill all local, state, federal laws and requirements. In lieu of such an arrangement, it's clear that their appeal for the Hall Road should be firmly and definitively denied.
Peter Young.
Oh, Peter. Hello, Pete.
Hello, everyone. I'm Peter Young. I live a couple doors from City Hall. And I served on this board about 15 years ago under Mayor Dick Tracy. We actually had a Mayor Dick Tracy. And so I'm very appreciative of the time and effort that it takes for you all to process this. I imagine this Colorusso thing has got your computers full of stuff already. I thought what I could do perhaps that might be helpful is offer a brief history of development issues on the Hudson waterfront. If we go back to the 1980s, there were a couple of Russian mobsters who were running an illegal gasoline operation down on the waterfront. Local citizens formed a group called Save Hudson's Only Waterfront. The acronym was SHOW. And the state attorney general got involved. The mobsters got convicted and sent to prison. That was the end of the illegal gasoline operation. Then our city fathers thought it would be a great idea to site an oil refinery on the waterfront. And again, local citizens rallied. Took them a while, but they shot that down. Then, somewhere around 1996, I believe, our city leadership thought it'd be a wonderful idea to transport all the toxic dry cleaning sludge from the northeastern United States, drag it to the city streets, and process it on our waterfront in the building that is now Basilica. I'm not making this up. That company was called AmeriClean, and that was sort of the birth of the present citizen movement that's involved in this Colorusso issue. We shot that one down. Then, 1998, if any of you were here, you might remember, a big Swiss-Canadian conglomerate tried to site the world's biggest cement plant on our community. They wanted a smokestack right up on top of the nursing home, the water supply, and the hospital, and they wanted to run a major shipping operation off our waterfront. So now, and that took 7 years. We raised a ton of money, built a huge citizens organization, and St. Lawrence Cement walked away losing $59 million and never had a single permit. So we thought at that time that perhaps we're done. We've sent a message to the city that we don't want to industrialize the waterfront. But after St. Lawrence Cement was defeated, they went back to Switzerland, and Colorusso purchased the waterfront and the quarries. So for the 5th time, the citizens of Hudson have been asked to come together and rally against another bad idea for waterfront. 30 seconds. Thank you. And the one thing that unifies all those propositions is the fact that they were industrial propositions that came with a ton of downside and no upside for the community. Thanks so much.
Hillary Hillman.
Hello, my name is Hillary Hellman. I've lived in Hudson for 20 years on Union Street. And thank you so much for the work that you do. It is very difficult work and it's very time consuming and it's quite appreciated. A lot of people have mentioned things that I was going to mention, but I wanted to, I'm addressing this issue as a citizen, but I also serve on the Hudson Conservation Advisory Council. And one of the big issues that we're quite concerned about is climate change and everything that we have all witnessed and here and around us and all over the world. And that is that the climate is changing, water is rising, and it seems less and less appropriate to be planning a road through what was a natural bay. The world is taking back, or waterways especially are taking their natural path, and they will continue that way. So that is just one aspect of this that confounds me, that we would consider, because we're talking about all of the ways that we have to plan for making changes for the train station and waterfront park and anything low lying. Why would we consider building a road through a bay? But the other things that I wanted to talk about or mention was that looking around at other communities and what they're doing with their waterfronts and developments, other towns such as Poughkeepsie, Beacon, Kingston, Saugerties, Germantown, Coxsackie, Athens, and even Newburgh have worked with the state of New York to finalize their local waterfront revitalization plan. And we need to continue our work on that and to get it solidified with the state and accepted our LWRP. But these other communities are using, are improving their waterfronts to increase citizen access, generate good business. Hudson is the only town that's considering the establishment of a major, gravel operation, an industrial truck route through the waterfront area, through a bay. It's also worth noting that in recent years, Hudson has received $10 million, a grant from New York State for the, okay, thank you.
Glenn Gould.
My name is Gwen Gould, and I live on East Allen Street. And some of this has already been said, but I'll read my notes. The Hudson Riverfront Park is a unique place for our community and should not be overrun by Coloruso's trucks and barges full of gravel. First of all, in these times when we are concerned about the environment and climate change, we need to be reducing the amount of toxic elements in the air, especially those caused by emissions from giant trucks passing through our community. This is noise pollution as well. The waterfront is a very special place. It's the only place in Hudson where our diverse community can easily come together for many different activities, or just to enjoy the expansive view of the Hudson River and the distant Catskill Mountains. For residents of Hudson who live in tight quarters or don't have backyards or a pleasant view of any kind, the park is essential to their well-being. If the planning board approves Colorado's conditional use permits, CUPS, this means one greedy business can negatively impact the lives of the 6,000 residents of Hudson. This is not fair. This must not happen for the health and wellness of our beloved community.
Ryan Grossman.
As.
Thank you.
In here.
Tim Garrison.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Kim Garrison. I'm a land use attorney with the firm Branton Lyons, and we represent citizens and business owners in the city of Hudson, including Valley Alliance and Basilica Hudson. Tonight, we are advocating for the denial of the Colorado's application for conditional use permit to expand its Fall Road because one, it conflicts with the community's visions for its waterfront as set forth in the LWRP and in the zoning law, and it also fails to meet the conditional use permit standards within the zoning law. Now, when a use requires a conditional use permit, it has to meet every single condition, both general, specific, if there's any specific for the use, and entitlement to a conditional use permit is not a matter of right. If you fail to meet just one standard, the conditional use permit should be denied, and in this case, Colorado's application fails to meet several. Regarding the general conditions for all conditional use permits, it requires to be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the district, and with this case, the DR district. As has been demonstrated by the public here, this is not in orderly development with the conditions with the CR zoning district. It's supposed to be representing for recreational waterfront use, not industrial use with heavy traffic. In addition, regarding the CR district, it also will emit dust, it will impact visual impact, and it will also impact public access, as has also been demonstrated by the public by crossing the railroads and crossing near the Henry Hudson River Park. In addition, the LWRP establishes Hudson visions for its waterfront and its desire to move away from industrial use and towards a mix of uses that allow for public use. As part of the LWRP, you also have to consider consistency with the LWRP, and this fails to meet several of those policies. The courts will uphold a denial of conditional use permits where the decision is rational and based on evidence in the record. Troy Sand and Gravel versus the town of Nassau, where the Supreme Court and the Appellate Division upheld the denial of a conditional use permit for a quarry on the grounds that the quarry would not be in harmony with the character of the town.
30 seconds.
In Senate versus Town of Ballston, ZBA, the court upheld the denial of conditional use permit for an office and retail building based on concerns of traffic congestion and safety. There is evidence to deny it because it fails to meet those conditions that I previously stated. I have provided by email a letter to the planning board. I have hard copies if anybody would like. I can provide it to the clerk here as well. If you are planning on closing the public hearing, I would ask that you at least leave the public hearing open for 10 days just for the public to provide additional written comments. Thank you very much.
Nicole Beeler.
Take that. Oh, hi, I'm Nicole Vidor. I live on 39 Allen Street. I lived there for 21 years. And I love my street.
I did prepare something, but I'm so struck sitting here and listening to all of these really like heartfelt, authentic pleas from the citizens of Hudson saying, please, don't give away our water. You know, that's for all of us. That's for this community that all of us want so much to nurture and help really thrive. And I think we're all getting closer and closer to that. And I'm so struck that when one of the board members asked Carla Russo about the blasting, well, would it be possible if you just didn't run your trucks when you were blasting? Oh, no, we couldn't do that. Because, we couldn't have the trucks idling, Hey, what about the people in Hudson? What about that consideration? And, it goes back to, I guess, what I was going to talk about was the environmental injustice, which I find really bizarre. Because the people that are calling out the environmental injustice are causing the environmental injustice. And what they're asking for is, would you permit us to move our environmental injustice from the north side of your city to the south side of your city? It kind of doesn't make any sense. And I guess the other thing is reading all of the materials and what I gather is the board's role, right? And I think it says to evaluate applications for special use permits related to the city zoning or land use planning for the purpose of providing for the future growth and development of the city and for the comfort, convenience, safety, health, and welfare of the citizens of Hudson. I ask you to really, really think about it and really think about what this means to the whole fiber and all of us here. And that waterfront means so much to so many people. And I can just remember, and some of you knew him, Timothy Dunleavy. And when Timothy was dying, the place where he found peace, the place where he could kind of deal with what he was dealing with, was the waterfront, was his evening walk on the waterfront. Please consider our citizens. Thank you very much.
Melissa Alcamon.
First, thank you so much, everyone, showing up. It's been many, many years and we're all pretty exhausted. Thank you to the new planning board members for taking the lead on this. I'm Melissa Offenbauer, co-founder and director of Basilica Hudson, located on South Front Street, directly across the street from the Colarusso Port, and in line with the proposed expanded road in question. We opened in 2010 and we've been very tuned in to all things waterfront, and we did our homework about the decades prior to our arrival. I strongly oppose the approval of the expanded New Hall Road, and I am, slow down that I can't say it all. I'm all for supporting local businesses and neighbors, and this is not a war against my neighbor. This is about what the city and citizens of Hudson are entitled to have and what is best for the future of all people living and working in Hudson. I ask you, the generous volunteer planning board members, to uphold our existing City of Hudson zoning and deny this application. This is not about any landowner or business being better than another. It's simply pointing out that we must follow the city zoning that was adopted and approved in 2011. I witnessed it, I was in the room because it affected our future directly. The zoning law states that the waterfront activities must complement each other, be in harmony with one another, and that our waterfront be a place of mixed use. Should this expansion be approved, it threatens all other uses, and that is undeniable. Even the state of New York and federal government ask us to serve and protect our waterfronts on the historic Hudson River. It's high time to engage with the LWRP and place our waterfront to the core of city planning and benefit from all the state and federal support that can help us expand our potential on our waterfront.
My family have been living, working, and raising our daughter in the Hudson waterfront for the last 15 years. When we arrived here, we saw the potential, but we also felt assured by the New York State ruling against the proposed St. Lawrence cement plant 20 years ago. When we fell in love with the historic building and decided to put our whole family business into it, we felt assured that we would that we could make it an anchor of the people's waterfront. And on a personal note, I have to point out that the last 7 years since this applicant took over the property, the issue has divided our Hudson community and neighborhoods and are being pit against each other. A conflict between wards is not something that any of us should be standing for or engaging in. We should stand together and support one another and fight for clean air, safe streets, and nurturing environment for all of our families.
Someone give me a time, did someone give me time?
Yeah, yes, 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Expand this property was bought with clear zoning, and not to be rude, but I simply say do as it is and make the most of it as it is. With clear zoning when it was purchased. Expansion and asking for exception doesn't make sense. The expanded operations will dominate all other activities on the waterfront and make it next to impossible for those of us already here and in any future projects like ours to sustain or grow. This would we could cease to exist on the waterfront, and good luck.
Thank you.
Stone.
Hi there, my name is Toby Stone, I'm a first ward resident and co-founder of Soka Hudson. I'm here today to voice my opposition to the Calarusa Hall Road, a conditional use permit application. To begin, I want to establish that this is not about banning trucks or banning the port. It's about striking a balance. We feel a significant increase in volume and expanded infrastructure would be detrimental to all future mixed use. Hudson zoning requires a balanced use of the waterfront, and we need to decide whether this expansion stays within the confines of the term balance. To approve this project would allow Calarusa to move forward with absolutely no restrictions on our truck traffic, thereby allowing the applicant to dictate its own impact onto our community. This is not fair to the future of Hudson. And I want to be clear, we want to reduce all truck traffic in Hudson. Right now, there are all alternatives, including some that could immediately stop trucks in the second ward and Columbia Streets. But the applicant has refused to implement these alternatives, which would alleviate their traffic on second ward streets. And instead, they have created a false crisis that pits ward against ward in Hudson. Contrary to the narrative of the applicant, their trucks could be off of most of the Hudson streets immediately if Calarusa would utilize their option of their own shorter route that was prepared in 2017, and if they use their existing home road in 2 directions. Currently, they use it only one way, and it can take all their trucks off, and they can use all their trucks in both directions today. Any approval of this new and expanded whole road would go against the compromise that the city of Hudson already reached with the new zoning adopted as part of the LWRP in 2011. Where Wholesome Cement was granted exclusive access through the South Bay by a single lane road, AKA the current Hall Road. The point of this compromise was to create a system of restrictions to increase industrial activity on the port. This 2-direction single lane road is the only method we have to restrict Calarusa's volume of trucking to the waterfront. If a new exclusive 2-lane paved road was approved, truck traffic could be in the thousands a day. There are truly no restrictions the city could implement to reduce the volume. It's important the planning board acknowledge what could ensue if this application was approved. Right now, the waterfront is already overtaxed with truck traffic, and a 5-fold increase could mean that the waterfront would become dominated by industrial activity and will no longer define as mixed use. This would be a massive turning point for the city of Hudson and any attempt to rejuvenate our waterfront. After a long 7-year exhaustive process with the applicant that's been pitting residents against each other, I want to thank the volunteers of the planning board. I asked the planning board to reject the application. The code and precedent absolutely allows for the rejection of a brand new exclusive highway through our wetlands. The code explicitly states any expansion of the industrial use can be rejected. It is not in harmony with adjacent uses such as the waterfront or detrimental to the character and benefit of the community. The choice is quite clear, and I hope the planning board is empowered to do the right thing. Thank you.
Sam, perhaps.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay? All right, you have
over 20 letters from the Valley Alliance, as well as several from me personally, and I won't reiterate all that. I do hope you review them all. I know it's a lot of reading, but a great deal of thought was put into every one of them, and they are part of the record. In lieu of rehashing the technical arguments, which you already have, for rejecting this proposal, you have very strong grounds to do so. I wanted to encourage everybody to engage in a little bit of a thought experiment. You know, I've been here 25 years now. Teresa, I think I was introduced to you by Carol Clark at Charleston way back in the 90s. And others of you I've met over the years. So let's go forward another 25 years and imagine two scenarios. You go down to the waterfront. Scenario one, the waterfront looks pretty much the way it does now. It hasn't expanded. It hasn't really improved. In fact, you now have even more gravel trucks going down there than before. Activity which, you know, only began about 2005, 2006. It's not a historical activity, and they never got permits to do it. They just treated it as a right activity. So you go down, and as Peter Young was telling me when he was down there the other night, there's diesel fumes floating over the waterfront park. There's no new businesses on the river. The access to the public is basically capped where it is now. Scenario two, you go down. These permits have been denied by you folks. And suddenly the city has an enormous opportunity, either with help from the state or private developments to acquire land all the way south down to East Jesus. You already own 4.4 acres to the south of the dock. And the community, its leaders, have a massive opportunity to create a real waterfront that could be really the envy of the entire valley. The state and the city have in the past said that they want to help restore the South Bay to what it was. And we're not just talking about stuff for tourists. We're talking about people having the ability to pull up a boat without being a member of a private club and refuel. We're talking about educational resources. We're talking about ball fields. We're talking about amenities for the people who live here, who, as someone else said, don't have backyards. And I hope at some point in the process, beyond the technical arguments, you'll all really think about 25 years from now, you go down there, how will you feel about your decision? I think it's a very clear one. I think you have a very strong right to deny this project. And I wish you the best in sorting through all of our many comments. Thank you.
Okay, also while we're waiting for the next person. There was comment about the extending the time period. We are allowing 7 or 10 days.
The board has to decide, but there will be a written period.
Then you can submit comments and written statements between now and the conclusion.
Can I just ask, will you be taking comments from people on Zoom?
We will,
Oh,
yes.
Roddy Nielsen.
How's everybody doing? My name is Rodney Neeson. I live in a place on Fifth and State. I was born and raised in Hudson, since 1962. My grandfather was a doctor when Massillon Smith House called. And my father, we all done a lot of community service. And my father actually saved the Boys Club to keep it going. I've been listening to everybody, and I've open mind, and I understand both sides. If I ask this, how Russo supposed to permit, then the trucks are on the road again. And from what I understood, the one in Greenport is they want trucks off the road. So they're proposing the whole road. I understand can't have it both ways, so, but I think it would be good, because if they pull the permits, then they're on the road. So the whole road's another acceptance of what they're trying to do. And I've listened to everybody bash them, but Colorado has been here since 1912. And they made the city. They put the roads there, maybe they should put all the blacktop and everything they've done in the past, and this, we wouldn't have a city. But I love the river. I've been on the river most of my life. I have a boat, and I understand both sides. So hopefully everybody can work together. I mean, I get along with a lot of people, so I don't like to make enemies over it. But anyways, I think you should approve it. I'm the only one that probably here agrees to that, but can't have it both ways. Everybody has something in their backyard. We have a gravel plant. Good. I don't want a nuclear waste plant or anything like that, so. But anyways, thank you all for what you do here.
David Anderson.
Hi, Peg Patterson, 103 Warren Street. Am I doing this? Is this working?
Yes, there you go.
I'm a member of our Hudson Waterfront and the Hudson Business Coalition. As a business owner on Warren Street, I have never understood the economics of this activity on our waterfront. I asked myself, what does Hudson get out of this? Will it boost the city's economy, generate jobs and career paths for our young people? Will it enhance and encourage the use of our park? Will it help attract other businesses? Or will it do none of these things and even worse, discourage them? If the answer to these questions is no, then we seriously have to ask, what are we doing? Because our greatest economic risk may be the missed opportunity we have to create a vibrant waterfront district that will be an economic driver for our city. Kitty's is an example. They employ a lot of people, particularly young people. And with the opening of their event space, the Caboose, it will create more jobs. Down the street, Basilica continues to expand its robust roster of cultural offerings, and every expansion of their vision will lead to more jobs for people in Hudson. There are a lot of businesses that could move in, maybe a public marina, restaurants, boat rentals, more housing, if that makes sense, or compatible light industry. All of these businesses would create jobs and economic activity, but the gravel operation will not. Instead, at the level Colorusso intends to operate with its big truck highway and rapidly increasing traffic to and from the dock, all other uses are likely to be dampened, and the city will miss a huge opportunity. The city's vision plan supported light industry, not intensified heavy industry, which flies in the face of the vision plan, the comprehensive plan, and the LWRP. This is why it's absolutely critical this situation be studied from an economic as well as an environmental perspective, because if there are no limits to gravel loading on our waterfront, and Colorusso claims no limits can be imposed, the market for gravel, and not the people of Hudson, will be the decider of our fate. One last thing. Actually, I'm gonna skip it. I'm just gonna say thank you for your time and your work. You had done it. Never gonna tell you.
There it is.
That's a good way to get one.
Jason Foster.
Hi there, thank you, I'm gonna dive in. I'm a resident that lives on the truck route. And Hudson has a truck problem. We have 2 access highways that are governed by the state and federal government. We have 53-foot trucks, we have ADM flower trucks that run 24/7, and we have a large volume of gravel trucks. But a lot of what has been said tonight has focused on just below 3rd Street. There's a lot more city above 3rd Street. And it has the 2 access highways going through it. So what is bust for Hudson? And I just want to bring in a perspective, you guys can think about a balancing act of truck traffic versus a vibrant waterfront. The Hall Road, as proposed, does not pass a single house, duplex, or apartment complex. The Hall Road is an opportunity. I heard that word a minute ago. It's an opportunity to reduce the load of trucks on the truck routes for the residents that live on those routes. Seems like the goal of a lot of opponents to this are to eliminate the port, not to eliminate the Hall Road. So I think that closing down the port is unlikely. I'm not an attorney. I think there's a lot about it that is just, I think there's legal issues. I think there's a large company that's been operating there, and I think it's gonna be hard to shut them down. So if they do not get shut down, and you deny the Hall Road, their trucks will be running through our town. if they can't ship by barge, they will ship another way. And they will come down Green Street and they will go down Park Place and they will head out Worth Avenue. Or they will go down Columbia Street and head out Third Street to the Rip Van Winkle Bridge. And they will ship, maybe they'll ship all the way to New York City where the barges go now. And environmentally, trucks hauling gravel emit 10 times the CO2 as a barge being pushed by a tug. So what is, you know, a lot of people ask you to envision things, what it would be like at the waterfront park. What is it like now at the 7th Street Park? What, 30 seconds. Okay. I think I might come back later to read some things from the LWRP, but I guess we have an opportunity to control something about trucks going through our truck routes, and we're gonna lose that. If we deny this haul road, we probably won't get that back. We'll have all their trucks for a very long time. Thank you.
This would be a good time. I have a couple of questions that we can ask of the applicant, just for clarification. If the whole road is not approved, is there anything stopping you from increasing the truck traffic if you wanted to?
The business.
Like the truck through the city, right? It's not approved, if the alternate is not approved, is there anything stopping you from increasing truck traffic in the city?
No.
So it's an obvious that.
And then we have another question, then why aren't you using the existing road for traffic both ways now?
Because we don't have approval for the whole road.
But.
It's the same project.
The part that is built. But why are you running both ways in the parts of the whole road that's currently built?
The whole road isn't built. There's a service road next to the causeway that's only a one-way road.
Yes.
Like a lot of old railroad tracks, they have a little service road down below the tracks. That's what's being used one way.
Yes.
It's not two-way.
So why not make it?
It can't be used two-way. It can't be used two-way.
Okay, I just,
Right.
the board just wanted that clarification, thank you.
Why not?
Next.
Why not?
It can be used two-way.
Ben Fane.
They own it, and they let them say stuff.
Hi. My name is Ben Fane. I'm owner of Kitties, and we just opened Caboose, which we're super excited about. And I'm part of the trying to redevelop the old CAD site out by the riverfront. I'm here to advocate for the position to deny the conditional use permit. I consider myself one of the people who have fallen deeply in love with the riverfront. And am extremely, extremely excited about what it could be. There's a lot going on down there, and there's a lot of people who have invested and are obsessed with what its future could be. I live on Cross Street. I'm there all day long. I'm part of what's happening now down at the riverfront with hundreds of people who, in our community, who uses it all week long, every day. It's clear to say that the waterfront is our future. We're not against Colorusso. I buy from Colorusso. I drive on Colorusso stone. But the truth is, the new Hall Road is not in compliance with the 2011 zoning code, which requires a recreational use. This is an expansion of a industrial use. And it's a pretty simple choice in that way. And sorry, I'm nervous, and I just wanted to express that. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Yeah.
Does anyone online have any comments? There's no raised hands.
Somebody there.
Barbara, Dave. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Is she going through the VA?
Well, you'll just hit it on the chat, a reminder, right? Is that what you're doing? Let her know she needs on here.
Do I have an opportunity to speak?
Yes.
There you go.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm completely ill prepared for this, and yet I've lived it through my residency. Quick assessment of my experience with Carla Russo. The first time I saw the water in the quarry with that pristine limestone, and I have traveled the globe. I had never seen such gorgeous water, only to learn that our city, whatever the exchange was to Carla Russo, and I thought, well, I have to look at both sides of the coin. It's not just Carla Russo, it's the way our politicos handle what's happening in our town. A few things I had not heard this evening. No one's mentioned the fault line. I've only had 2 minor quakes during my residency, but you know, the blasting, the unregulated weight of the trucks, it's very problematic. I've been at 8 Union Street too long. And the truck traffic, when I learned that there was a weigh station down at the dock, I thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity to just weigh them out and see if they're in compliance, because the trucks aren't just numerous, they're enormous. And I don't think I have to speak to anyone that experiences the problem with the shimmy living on clay, which is what we're built on. I really hope, I don't have a sense that the planning board, some of your questions, and please thank you for your service to our community, but I hope you are better versed in this than what I've heard through your questions and concerns, because it can't be the blind leading the blind. And I just want to say, I love this community. I'm so proud of you all. Oh. And this is the most I've talked. I'm in Alabama, so those of you that know me know I can't open my mouth here. But thank you for this opportunity. I am strongly against. I mean, if you want to look at Carla Russo, why have they sued the city twice? If they had any reasonable business acumen, they would come to us as partners in trying to come to a healthy solution. Actually, that's all I'm going to say. I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity to hopefully encourage the board to not allow anything else from this behemoth. And if you've not seen aerial views of what they've done to Beechcraft Mountain, please get a hold of drone images and look at the behemoth that's been created up there. And thank you for your time, everyone.
Do we have any more questions from our online audience?
Yeah.
Do you have anyone else that's in the room that wasn't on the list that now wants to have a statement? Please come on.
Hi, my name is Vicky Cato. I'm a over 50-year resident of Hudson. And I've heard a lot of people in this audience talk about Carla Russo. We gotta stop Carla Russo. You can't use the roads in the city. You can't use the whole roads. Where do we come together and come up with a solution? We have to have a solution. I hear a lot of people in this audience talk about them being Hudson. There's a lot more to Hudson than what's in this room. Way more. The people of Hudson, down street, up street, over to the left, over to the right, it's not just what's in this room. And the questions that are being asked tonight are not probably the questions that need to be asked. There needs to be a solution. And I don't hear anybody coming up with a solution. Thank you.
Anna Reed, a resident of Hudson. Thank you to the planning board. Your role is super important and towns are affected by planning boards every day throughout the United States. One thing to take into consideration is that this is a historic town. Its historic character has shaped it since its inception. It was a port, it was a thriving port with hundreds of ships at one time, and it's not anymore. It was an industrial dock. Industrial towns are all over the United States. The city of Hudson is not an industrial town anymore. It has small businesses, hundreds of them. The changes at the waterfront are enormous. The amount of people that are employed down there are enormous. Colorusso is a private business and they have to make choices for themselves to get to their bottom line. I don't know why that has to include the dock being in a tiny historic town that has switched away from an industrial port. People who walk in this town, people who have children, people who have health conditions, asthma. There's a hospital here that serves many of those people. Those people have to be taken into consideration. And I want to please advise you to not adopt this legislation, not approve the proposition, and to deny the Hall Road, period.
I couldn't hear Sandra's last name.
Sandra, what was your last name?
Sienna Reed.
Oh, Sienna Reed.
Reed, R-E-I-D.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark Barrow. I'm a resident of Hudson for 30 years. Live on Union Street. I just want to make some distinctions here. You know, they're talking about the existing road on Hall. It's a one-lane road. The one-lane road can be used two ways. It just means that they have to regulate the traffic, which is good, right? Colorusso needs to make some concessions. I don't hear any concessions coming from there. Right? So, and I know road construction, and my father was a road construction engineer. Bidded for roads and built the Rochester Airport. I'm also a blaster, New York State licensed blaster. I know what all this takes to do in the nitty-gritty of it. And there can be concessions by Colorusso to use the existing Hall Road in a two-way, and it would mitigate their amount of traffic, which is something that they need. If they want to make it a two-way road, then they need to come back to the table and say, okay, we can only do X amount of traffic in a day or a year. That's my comments.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barb Hunkus Marola. I grew up in Hudson. My dad, Rudy's TV, if you remember Rudy. Yeah, so I've been here forever. My mom and dad lived on River Ledge Road. I plan on moving there someday. Right now I'm in Willard Place, and I feel like I'm part of everybody because I'm in both worlds. I have friends and new friends like you guys, and yet I have Nancy Colorusso was my third grade friend, and we had the same red coat. I mean, so history, I have history with everybody, which I applaud the need for you to really pay attention to how your decision is going to affect everybody. I mean, everybody, not just our children and the grandchildren and our walks and our animals, the wildlife on South Bay, and they're wonderful. I've seen foxes and sometimes deer, and it's just a wonderful thing, that South Bay. And then Colarusso, they do Hudson service. I mean, we can't deny that they have a part of us too. And so what I'm thinking is how the people, some people mentioned that maybe we just really need to work on it. I mean, maybe that road, the bridge might work. I mean, instead of just saying, no, that's ridiculous, it's gonna cost some money, how about really doing something? Really doing something that benefits all of us. And we're not, I don't think we are anyway, them against us, or us against them. I think we are truly a community. And let's hold that as our platform. And thank you very much. Thank you guys for the work you do. And God bless.
Thank you. And I can assure you that we will make a measured and thoughtful decision that the planning board has thought about this, is considering all the facts, and we will make the best decision we feel possible. Next.
My name is Kristen, and I'm a fifth generation Hudson resident. And I just want to say, if this was really about social justice and the economy, then everyone would show up for housing too. Because if the road is denied, then the trucks still go through the poorest neighborhoods. But I don't think a lot of this audience cares because it's not affecting them personally. I've heard many people come up here and mention how it would affect the economy. And if you all truly cared about the economy here, you wouldn't have gentrified it the way you have, forcing lifelong locals.
The audience.
I've heard insults from
Please, do not direct your comments to one another. Direct your comments.
I've heard insults from people calling Colarusso greedy, calling them bullies. I can speak my way.
Amen.
So I thought these
Did I interrupt you when you were on the mic?
Excuse me, everyone, comments have to be directed to the mic and not.
Can't abide by that, then you won't be speaking, okay? You'll make your comments to the board.
No, I don't like being shouted at though. Shouted at.
Yes, and the audience.
From the audience.
You have to ignore that, and we will be quiet, the audience, but if you have comments, you'll make it to the board. And the board only.
Can I proceed? Everyone? I heard many name calling, bullies and greedy, and I also heard one person mock one of the members. I was under the impression we were all adults. I'll tell you what pollutes the river, and it's not the people of Hudson. We do have the most major city in the country, New York City, connected to the river, and that is ranked one of the biggest areas of pollution in the world. To the people of the Basilica, how is it okay that you have your business on the waterfront? How many vehicles does that bring in? You were mad that trucks went through the city, so Colarusso went ahead and proposed an alternative haul road to take the trucks off the roads. You're now mad at that too. If you were mad about fumes and vehicles, why aren't we mad about the train station being there where trains consistently are in and out? You are selectively mad only towards the things that threaten you, it seems. Colarusso employs over 250 people. I also heard someone say that their company doesn't benefit people's career paths. That's bigger than any company does in the community. Let's not act like they don't do that so that it fits your narrative. I really hope those of you that despise this company don't go on 3rd Street, many other streets, use the roundabout by the bridge, and many other countless areas in Hudson, being that they constructed that and it wouldn't be possible without that.
Okay, So, anyone else? Stefan?
My name is Leisha Romano and I'm a 57-year resident of Hudson. Leisha. Yep. What I see is after the project, the bridge has been a staple of us our whole life. We walked over the bridge growing up, back and forth. What I see when it's the biggest train station, most popular train station, if we have access to the river before the train station, when everybody gets off the train. I do it now. I go down to the river when people are off the train. It's dangerous. I'm sure kiddies, when they have whatever bands, concerts afterwards, the traffic, we have access to that bridge before all that. It might be a safety issue. Let's look after the project also, not before the project. That's all.
I'm just unclear what you're talking about.
What am I talking about?
You with the bridge. you're talking
Like
about-
if we had the bridge there, if it was approved, if everything was approved and we had the bridge there, if we had access to the river before the train station, before kiddies, before that safety issues for driving, for people coming off the trains and stuff.
Right, no, but this is about the whole road.
Oh, this is just about the
Just
whole.
about the whole road.
Well, let's get it going so we can get this train. Okay, sorry. Okay, Alicia. Do that, huh?
Right.
My name is Karen Eason, and we own the property at 512 State Street. Tara. And what I would like to say is I've listened to a lot today from both sides. And I'm hearing a lot of people's visions for what they would like to see Hudson become. We can't forget about what Hudson was. When these people moved here, these industry areas were here. There was the St. Lawrence Cement, which you've always had dust and truck traffic and everything else from. You're moving from a company that has been around since 1912, doing business, helping their community, being part of their community. These aren't outsiders coming into our town asking for something as an outsider. These are our community members. These are people that have been here, working for us, working with us, enhancing their community since they've been here. Every one of these people talk about the businesses that they want to open and they want to be able to expand and they want to see grow. Well, why is it okay for one business to have a vision of being able to expand and grow, but not a business that's been here forever? You're looking at one person's view of what their vision of the area should be instead of what could be for a long-running business. You want to talk about growth? Growth of any business brings jobs. Growth of any business allows them to give back to their community, which they have repeatedly done. And I just think that I'm hearing a lot of people who moved into this community knowing the kind of stuff that was here already, such as Colaruso's, and now they want to change it. I don't think that's right.
I would like to say about it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be good because I keep losing words and I shouldn't, so I'm afraid to talk in public.
Just do the best
My
you
name
can.
is Aji Clark. I've lived in Hudson for 10 years, but I've been around since 1976. So I knew Hudson when there was not much here. First of all, I only heard really one person, Victor, give a suggestion that I thought was a good suggestion, because I do think that it is important to have a solution. And the solution isn't to have more trucks, and the solution isn't to have increased trucks. If Colaruso really cares about this community, if those people who talked about that are right, why can't they move their operation further south out of our riverfront area? It would solve everything, and then they could have their whole road there that could go both ways. And there needs to be a solution to this, because I'm just afraid. And I definitely think you should say no to this, but I am afraid that they will increase everything they're doing, and they'll be mad, and they want, I mean, so I think the solution is important, and maybe some of the people here might come up and help you all to come up with a solution and come to know. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Is there one more or some more?
I don't wanna jump, but I understood I could have 2 more minutes at the end.
Yeah.
If people still go, I'd like to go at the end.
Yes, anyone who hasn't spoken. And then the people that have spoken can come back up, give them time to get 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tim Daly. I've been here since 1976, 1991 Hudson graduate. I remember all the industry was here. L&B, Button Factory, McGuire's, they've all been chased off. They've been thrown out of this town and gone. Now, since 91, when I graduated, how many of the families are able to stay here? You've driven all the industry out. You've forced everybody that's grown up here and been a lifetime member to have to go find somewhere else to live. Because they can't make it with these small businesses that come in that are financed through New York City. With the businesses that are here and that are supplying jobs for hundreds of people, they've all been closed down. And we're gonna do that again. We're gonna go after another company, see what we can do, and close it down. And chase off the jobs that people don't have, the masters, the doctorate degrees. The whole, these are the types of things you're doing here. I mean, it's a serious question, because when you look at the people and the educations that we're getting around here, they're gonna need these labor jobs. They're gonna need these truck driving jobs. But these are the things we don't want. But we're gonna still bring in other things for other businesses, on trucks, in cars. All of them are coming up on trains. We've admitted that the train station's now the busiest one around. I mean, that means we're bringing more of everything in here. I mean, I don't know what we've got left to keep going and keeping people that are here that are the true locals and being able to be employed. They've all, I mean, I gotta say my graduating class, there's probably about 10 of us left. Because they've all been forced to move somewhere else to find a job. Thank you. Lifetime people.
Can I speak again?
Well, is there someone that hasn't been already? Okay.
Take one.
Yeah, come on.
I'd like 4 minutes. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Everybody hear me without the microphone? Name's Kevin Sweet. I own a small business in the area, and we do haul stone for the Colorados. We don't haul gravel, but we haul stone, blacktop, larger stone. We do go through the city. We do have the monster trucks. I wanted to hit on a few points that some other people have made. The haul road is a one-way road currently. Being a truck driver myself, it is a one-way road. You do not put 2 trucks on that road currently. It would not be good. Hudson, what does Colorado's do for Hudson? Your fireworks for Flag Day. Columbia County Fair. They sponsor a big portion of that. They've sponsored that for years. My grandfather worked for them for over 20 years. They support local people. They have put food on tables for countless years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs, supported hundreds of families in this area. You have other trucks on these roads also using your state truck route, which it is. Yes, it's a city street, but it's still a state truck route. Ginsburg's, ADM, ShopRite, Walmart, Lowe's, TJ Maxx, Kohl's, National Grid, your food trucks that deliver all your food to Hudson, they use your truck routes. All the micro brews popping up, trucks deliver all their supplies, still on your roads. By approving the haul road, you're going to get a majority of the trucks off of your city streets. You drive around and you see these signs that are up, get the trucks off the city streets. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we've been trying to do for years. The flooding issue. It was brought up, and I don't mean to step on the lawyer's toes. I do not speak for the Coloradans, I speak just as a resident. 9G by Mount Marino floods every time we get heavy rains. Colarusso does not shut the road down, state DOT does. It's not up to them if the road closes or not. If it floods, it floods, there's no way around it, just like all of us. If we have to go to the bridge, can't use 9G, you gotta go around Worth Avenue. It's the same concept. Miss Daig, Barbara Daig online, she made a comment about unregulated trucks. I pay a very fair amount of money to New York State DOT to make sure that my trucks are regulated by the permits on how much we are allowed to carry. And before we leave, we get on their scale, which is certified, and says that we are allowed to leave the dock, or excuse me, we're allowed to leave the quarry to go to the dock because we are at or under our legal weight to carry through the city or on any street. Thank you very much for your time.
I have a question. I have a question.
Where did he live?
Excuse me. So you're not, you work in conjunction with Colorado, you don't work for Colorado.
Subcontract.
So you would not be, so if this whole road is approved, you would not, your truck would not be on the streets.
No, our trucks would be.
Wouldn't you, well,
If we're hauling for Colarusso to the dock, yes, we would be on the haul road.
you'd be on the whole road, you would not be on the city streets.
Correct.
I'm just trying to clarify that, okay?
Yes,
There was another, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Michael Johnston. First of all, I'm not a resident of the city of Hudson, but I do run a business that is in the city of Hudson many times. I own a school bus company that operates for the city of Hudson. And first and foremost, I've served many years on town boards, village boards, and I want to say you guys need to go outside and take a breath of fresh air because I'm sure you're exhausted for this. So, but congratulations, thank you for serving your city. I'm not really here to take either side, but I just would like to point something to you. In my business, hauling all of our life's most precious cargo, and that's what I call it, school buses. We serve the city of Hudson. I've done it for 35 years. I've also been on the other side of the coin. My wife and I, for 35 years, before that, 20 years, we ran a refuse business and we had dump trucks ourselves. Not working for Colarusso, but we did some of that business. So we understand both sides of that coin. I serve in some of the capacities here, listening to people's voices of what I was on that side of the table. My business of the school bus issue, you want to get this dump trucks off the streets. Because when my buses, our buses, your children are on those buses coming off 3rd Street onto 2nd Street or onto Warren Street or onto Columbia, and a dump truck loaded triaxle comes down Columbia Street, and anything can happen. A tire can blow, anything. Not a driver error, something. The ward upstairs makes it happen. When that dump truck falls into the back of one of our school buses, it's all over. Get the truck off the street. The waterfront is another issue. I understand your concern for it and I understand your aspect of it. The safety for those children are why I'm saying this. Consider that. Haven't heard anything like that yet. That's something that should be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. And then we'll come back and continue.
We'll be back at 7:51.
And back then, Jim. And I. Oh, I wanted to play.
If they raise their hands, it would be on, they would show up on the top of that. Front. So nobody.
Yeah. It's my time to look at that.
This was from, yeah, I just forgot the name. I have it right there. Melissa. She's one of the
lawyers.
I heard.
So I can get it.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say that.
I mean, it's been a revolving.
Paper copies, so I look at it. You know,
I just can't do it.
so many things on the computer, it is better. So if I can, I can mold it, I can highlight, you know.
Yeah. And
Even if you tell me when you have it done, I can look it up. Huh?
Yeah.
For what day?
Scan it in.
Okay. Marvelous with that. Yeah, I'm keeping it sliding because Thursday got a whole bunch of appointments. And then one at 3 and 5. I have seasonal. I carry seasonal because I've got here's next week. That has cats, tarps and stuff there. Yeah, I hired Eric. They're gonna ask to. I don't see, no one has to be that side. But it's also true. Okay, so meanwhile, the process of promoting. We kind of got to redo it.
I can friendly tracks. I mean, back down to the river.
I didn't put a pasta feel like I might say.
And there's I look at about that. I was getting ready to come out and I was looking at it. I'm like, oh.
Mine was a little older again. And I was like, let's go down the scan, I do 20 and try, and then come and. About me. Okay, oh. I didn't think so. Yeah. You know, everybody got their own opinion, but when you direct it, I don't like when you pretend that they knows, you know, that's, what is that, what is that? I know.
They want to tie it. One of 5 is including the.
Okay, folks, you got back into the hall, they continue the meeting now.
I don't think I ever got out.
You had your shot.
I know, I've heard that before, but that's okay, I got my cookie. Nine. From nine. I've been thinking a lot of it with my head. That's sugar. It's sugar. Betty, got a little Betty.
Hello. Let's get the meeting back to order. Can I have the person, if everyone has spoken initially, we will entertain additional comments and only 2 minutes each. So, who is next? You spoke not too long ago, so I'll circle back to you. Okay, you get my timer in 2 minutes. And let me just ask this, and if anyone that's viewing online, please make sure that you put the little indicator that you raise your hand and you will get to your questions. Thank you. I'm sorry, Pat.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mary Vaughan Williams. I didn't say, I live at 602 Columbia. I've lived in Hudson for just over 20 years. I raised 2 children here, and so I really feel like this is my community, although I am not from here originally. But I'm confused because I don't come to this meeting with the sentiment of wanting to close down Colarusso. I understand that they are a part of the fabric of this city. What I am confused about is why they felt like they needed to go to the waterfront, purchase a piece of land that was already, I mean, that's already muddled. They don't own the whole thing. There's some things that are not correct about that. Infringe upon the waterfront when there is so much, so many voices being raised to say, no, this is not a good idea. This is not for our environment. This is not for the health of our community. You know, why they want to bring their trucks through the city. I hear them all the time where I live on Columbia Street. And I know that so many other people suffer from that as well. The city is suffering from that. I don't understand if they love this community, why they would want to do that. It's not about closing down Colarusso. It's how they want to choose to do their business for the best of Hudson. Thank you. Sam.
Yeah, I think another couple minutes, real quick to run through a couple items, thank you. First of all, I was here in the 90s when the Button Factory and McGuire's were here. I knew people who worked there. They weren't chased out of town. Their owners who live in other parts of the country closed it down because their businesses were failing. It's a shame, but they were not chased out by these people or anybody else. Their owners from other parts of the country shut the businesses down. Colarusso, yes, valued part of the community. As I understand it, from the figures that I've seen, the waterfront gravel operation is a very, very small part of their revenue. They get, you can go on the state website and see how many millions they get per year in state projects. And there's the county projects, and there's other counties projects, towns. City of Hudson just gave them $4 million to work on the bridge. Good for them, I say. That does not entitle them to violate the city code and engage in an activity that harms the interests of many, many people, local people who live here full time, as I did for many, many years. Colarusso's business will continue to expand if the dock and the haul road permit are denied. And the idea that you would deny the haul road, not the dock, is just misleading. Obviously, you're either going to approve both or you're going to deny both. It wouldn't make sense to do. They really should have been one application from the beginning, but it got all mixed up with. The trucks, as we have been saying since before Colarusso bought it, should not go to the waterfront and it should not go on the city streets. The win-win for the city is to deny these permits and, you know, I bless Colarusso and continue to expand their business with taxpayer-funded projects as they do. That is their right. I hope they continue to do well. The waterfront is not make or break for them. Thank you.
There's been a lot of reference to the zoning code and LWRP. Jason Foster, Green Street. I believe that the stuff that's in the zoning code came from the LWRP, but if the zoning code in the core riverfront zone mentions Port and Causeway specifically. And here's a quote from the LWRP. The city's support for the causeway for vehicular traffic reflects a policy decision to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the business owners and residents, many of whom are low and moderate income families and individuals. This is taken from the LWRP. There's another quote. In reviewing the port's assets, the Hudson Vision Plan noted that the bulkhead provides an excellent access for any barge-related cargo. The city should try to secure an easement for bicycles and pedestrians. The LWRP land use plan contemplates the continued use of the port for commercial activity. I also, switching gears, think you do need to do some things to mitigate. There are things in the zoning code under core riverfront that mention noise, dust, visuals about the port. I have a list of things that I've gathered that Colarusso has agreed to do, and many of them. Okay, many of them. Yeah, many of them should be in their plans. You know, there's a great deal about that little piece in front of Basilica and what that really looks like. That should be detailed and known before they start. They can plant trees and they can block visuals and sound. So if I can, I'll submit these mitigation measures and refer you to these portions of the LWRP and the zoning code.
Thank you.
Hi, Kevin. Okay.
Next, please.
My name is Donna Strites. I live on Union Street in Hudson, and I just wanted to follow up on a comment that Sam made that aggregate is a very small percentage of Colarusso's revenue. For example, I checked the New York State Office of the State Controller, and from 2006 to current, Colarusso's total revenue for New York State projects was $187,530,000. Of that, less than 5% related to aggregate business. The rest is for construction projects and stuff like that. So to deny the permit so that Colarusso can't run its gravel trucks to the dock via the Hall Road would not put them out of business. They simply find another route to get the gravel to where they need to get it to. It would not be eliminating jobs for them. You know, they might be adding jobs, but it is a small part of the revenue. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So. Yes, I'm sorry.
Hi, Roddy Neeson, 512 State Street, and I spoke earlier. This is, like I said, no paper, I've just been listening, open mind to everybody, and I do agree with Roddy. But Colarusso is a clean company. I worked in the union when I was younger. All gravel banks, they're all nasty. Colarusso, you go past there, because I worked the Federation of Polish Sportsmen, and they're clean. If there's rocks on the road, they go up and clean them up. And I'm sure that Paul room, they're gonna keep clean because the owner of the place, Paul, will not put up with it. So there'll be no garbage, no nothing, and I'm sure the environment, they will do the best they can. Like I said, I'm not taking sides. I understand everybody's concern. And like I said, I'm a Hudsonian, I like to see it both ways. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay. Any call for any final questions? Where do you go from here?
You skip process,
Oh, what the next steps are?
you don't mind.
Do you wanna outline what the,
Sure.
yeah.
So the board will consider closing the hearing tonight if it's ready and there's no one else that needs to make any comments. The board will decide whether they want to have a written comment period after the hearing so that people that might have heard something during the hearing, but already spoke or just couldn't get their words together can submit their comments in writing. And the board should decide whether that should be 7 days or 10 days. Your preference. And after that, the board needs to deliberate. There's a lot for the board to consider. They've heard a lot of comments and the board needs to consider the application against the language in its code. They also need to look at Greenport's seeker negative declaration because that provides the parameters for the board's review. So next steps is deliberation.
And you see the parameters of the board's review for the seeker portion, but for the conditional use permit, that's completely separate, right? That's the city's own code.
As I said, they need to look at their zoning law. Yes. Said that.
All right, just be clear, the seeker from Greenport does not dictate what you do on a conditional use permit.
I mean, I'm not gonna get in the back and forth, but Greenport seeker analysis is binding on the planning board at this point. And so the board still needs to consider its own laws and the application.
Binding for the seeker process.
Ms. Victoria, you're the attorney both for the planning board and the city.
Planning board and part of it.
And parts of the city, just by way of people, so they know.
I'm just, the way you're putting it, I think is very confusing because as I understand it, you have essentially for the application to the Hall Road, you have a conditional use permit, and then you have to do seeker for the conditional use permit.
Separate.
Right,
So seeker has been completed on the conditional use permit application for the Hall Road. So the board needs to understand what that seeker negative declaration said. So as one of the things the board needs to consider as it goes through the process is the seeker negative declaration, the zoning law, and other applicable city rules and regulations. And that's what the board will be deliberating on in the next few meetings.
I just want to make it clear that as I understand the law, the conditional use permit can be denied.
Okay, thank you for your comments, you've already spoken, the board. I'm not saying it in a misleading way, the board has to make a decision based on the information it has before it and the city's zoning law and all
That's
those.
different.
Correct.
Oh, is that somebody online there?
And just agreeing.
Okay, all right, yes, we're gonna see the aggregate of all the information and give an answer based on all the considerations. All right, so. With that being said, I'm gonna hand this back.
Final statement.
I asked them, and I asked the applicant to make a final statement, they said they were gonna, come back with, in writing, specific responses to the comments, is that correct?
Yes, including the letters that we haven't seen yet.
Right, so,
After the comment period.
yeah, so they respond to all of that in writing, the only comments that we've heard today. That would be the voice today. We have kind of housekeeping thing, so I'm gonna close the question, the audience question, period. We're going to.
The board should decide 7 days or 10 days with it. You guys decide.
Yeah. Well, I just was, we gotta do, let's just, since I have 7 or 10, I think that.
I get 10, I agree with that.
Well, everyone had the opportunity to reflect.
Yeah.
They wanted. Yeah, you guys have to decide.
So, you know, we can do is procedurally, we're gonna close the public, hearing and then, so somebody needs to give me a motion to close the public hearing.
Wait, before you do that, you need to decide to begin the public comment, the written public portion of the public hearing open for particular good. The motion would be to close the public hearing, oral testimony, and leave it open for X number of days for written.
Okay, right, so do I have a motion to close the public, part of this meeting and offer 10 days for written comment to come into the board?
I agree.
So I have a second. You have a second? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
That brings it to close of business Monday, October 9th, because of the weekend.
Okay.
That is a holiday, so the 10th.
So yes, we close of business on the 10th, right?
Correct. Is that reflected on the record? The date of the close of Morals, of rent submissions?
Tuesday, October 10th.
Okay.
Tuesday.
Right, so that motion is passed.
Was there a second?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
I'm counting. I'm here.
Okay. So you.
Then-
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, we vote on. But,
Fine, if there's anything else.
yeah, there's no other business, I'm gonna close the meeting, so, thank you people for coming out and
Thank you.
questioning your corporate community, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I motion to, close the meeting? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned, thank you.